Hey, everybody. This is me, the real Mano. It's Justin Cristelli. Welcome to the Primal Paper Comics podcast for the month of March. This is where we're going to be talking about what we have going on at Primal Paper Comics with our own titles. We're also going to be talking about some of the things going on in the geeky comic world and maybe not so comic world at large. But first off, for the month of March, this episode is featuring the debut, finally, the debut appearance of the creator of The Legend of Willpower, Vince White. Say hi to the folks, Vince.
Hi, everybody.
Hi to the folks, Vince.
Hi to the folks.
Welcome aboard, man. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you. And let me say that the right way. It's called The Legend of Willpower.
I screwed it up.
Yeah, you got to get that. You got to drink whiskey for about 3 days and let it just burn in your throat. The Legend of Willpower. Is that guy still alive anyway? The Optimus Prime guy?
Yeah, Peter
Robert
Cullen,
Stack?
he is still alive.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, it was Robert Stack.
No, Robert Stack. No, it was Peter Cullen.
Why did I think it was Robert? Did Robert Stack do it for the movie?
He did the voice of Ultra Magnus for the movie.
Okay.
You know, the movie version.
Also, hi, Jeff is here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just, next to the Legend of Willpower guy.
Well, you're here all the time.
Oh, okay.
That's Bumblebee.
Also to
Whatever,
my
I'm
right,
old. I'm like old tuna.
Yeah. Also to my right is Jeff Hewitt, the creator of The Ends. Say hi to the folks, Jeff Hewitt.
Hi to the folks, Jeff Hewitt.
And let's see, where should we start? I guess Vince, since you're joining us for the first time here, you are right now currently working on The Legend of Willpower 6, and you just had a very cool thing happen recently. Tell us about it.
Yes, I was at home. I received an email. I opened it up, and it was from Michael Davis. And
Who is Michael Davis?
Michael Davis is like the grease and the oil of the gears that was Milestone Comics, Milestone Media.
And what was Milestone Comics?
Milestone.
For those of our younger listeners who might not be aware.
Okay, well, Milestone. Like, when was that? Like the 80s or 90s?
Late
90s. Late 90s.
92, I think.
DC Comics made a deal with the legendary Dennis Cowens, who was the artist of Batman, Deathstroke. He did a lot of great stuff. And Michael Davis and Dwayne McDuffie, who wrote some amazing comics as well as a lot of the JLA series, which I thought was amazing.
Was the creator of
A lot of those guys created Static and
the creator of Static?
Yeah. And they did one of the first diverse, real diverse set of comics called Milestone, and they were published under DC Comics. And they had Static Shock, Hardware, the Blood Syndicate, Zombie, Shadow Cabinet. This is awesome. Anyway, I get an email from this guy, and he's like, hey, we're having an exhibit over at Steve Geppe's museum. And I was like, okay, Steve Geppe, it's great, whatever. I didn't know who Steve Geppe was. And then he said, I want you to be a part of it. We really like Willpower. We like what he's about and so forth. So I said, okay. So
and what was your, before you get too far, what was your relationship with Milestone? What did you do? What is your history with Milestone?
Okay, well,
because you did some work with them, right?
Yeah, what happened was back in the 90s, I was a big groupie, comic book groupie. I lived in San Diego, and at that time in La Jolla.
You would have been about 1920?
I was about 19 or
okay.
20. Wow. La Jolla was the hotbed for all comics. Jim Lee had his studio there, and it was called Homage Studios. And at that time, I don't think Image had just yet formed. It was forming. And anyway, I and a couple of my buddies tried to find where it was. We started hanging out there, and we became groupies. Then we were allowed inside the studios of Matt Broom and Ryan Benjamin, and this is where I got to do my first background work on a lot of comics. I got a whiff of Cable 58. I did some backgrounds and shading for Phantom Guard, and these are comics that our Image put out back then. And this is, it was real fun. We get to hang out. They would give us like fast food and let us draw the fill in the backgrounds, all this crap. And at that time, I started working with something called Omega 7, and I did a book for them. Don't look this book up. Please do not look this book up.
Look this book up.
It is called Dark Force. Do not look this book up. And at that time, there was like this whole ethnic movement in comics, and Anaya had sprung up, and we did a panel. I was invited to a panel, and this is where I met Dennis Cowens and so forth, and I started doing some work on the Blood Syndicate, and at least trying to be do work on the Blood Syndicate, and to meet his approval. And this is how I kind of got involved and invited, to come to the exhibit because of my connections back then. I would have to say I did more work on Image and Marvel books than I did anything with Milestone, but just because of our attenuative, I don't know the word, just because of our loose connection.
That's good enough. I like that.
They invited me, and they liked what I was doing with Willpower, and decided that I should be a part of this Milestones exhibit. And so it's at Steve Geppe's, and which I later realized was the owner of Diamond Distribution. Hey, this is his museum, and this thing is huge, man. It's awesome. It has everything there. I mean, the first Batman, first Superman, all these comics from the 60s and 40s. I mean, this is a huge museum. So Willpower's right up there, the action figure, the poster, all my work, sitting right alongside, Kyle Baker and John Jennings and Dennis Cowens and stuff like that. So it was a great honor. And they just wrote me the other day asking if they could extend the exhibit for the entire year, and I said, heck yeah.
Wow.
Signed off on the insurance papers and, sent the contract back out, and it was just amazing to...
and you had told me a story about when they were framing one of the issues.
Framing one of the issues?
They were framing one of the issues, and they were like, how much is this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
You didn't tell me this. What was this about?
So I show up late because Michael Davis gives me this email. He's like, dude, you got to get your stuff there at a certain time. And I live in Virginia, and this is in D.C., so I drive up there. I make it to the after hours in the museum, and the curator's there. And so he lays out all my work, and he's laying it beside original inks of Batman and Deathlock, and these original inks. And Dennis Cowens lost 22 pages of work for this thing, and it was lost for like 2 months. And it was an all points bulletin put out on the internet because they believe someone took it. Anyway, and he asked me, okay, so what's the value of this Willpower comic? What's the value of this? Beside this $500 page of some amazing art by Kyle Baker or something. And I said, that Willpower comic is it's $2.99. And then the curator says, no. I mean, what's like the collector's value? I mean, what is? I said, well, dude, that came out like last year, and it's my book. I mean, he's asked me the value of the pages, and I'm like, the page is like 65 cents, and the printed, I don't know. And I just felt so out of place, but when they took the, like these pictures and so forth to celebrate, this event, they had all the great artists up there, and they called me, Vince, come on, you need to come on, you belong up here. And I was like, no, dude, no. And Dennis was the one that reached out and said, come on, you deserve to be up here. And I don't even think he remembers the pages I had him look at of my Blood Syndicate work. I remember that, and I don't think he even remembers it. But I know he remembers me from bugging him so much at the conventions, and it was just amazing to have that happen again. Yeah.
And Cowens was one of the founders of Milestone, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Dwayne McDuffie, he passed away.
Yeah, Dwayne McDuffie passed away.
Cancer?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a heart ailment.
Yeah, way too young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
one of the big things that he did was he wanted to write John Stewart as the Green Lantern, and he sort of changed how Green Lantern uses his powers. instead of making objects, John Stewart doesn't do it. He uses it as a beam and a force field.
Yeah.
Because what was said is he didn't have the same imagination as
Kyle.
But what's become of that is that all the Green Lanterns sort of use their powers like him now, and it's more effective, than the big boxing glove.
I mean, I like the boxing glove.
The constant constructs that you have to like.
Yeah, like
they make the trampoline and then the boxing glove and the fly swatter. And...
No, I'll hit you with a beam.
Yeah.
I'll just blow you away.
Yeah, why don't you just do that?
Well, I'm gonna make a mirror, and I'm gonna reflect your beam back at you. Yeah.
Let me make a Victorian-style mirror with some nice carvings. There we go.
All right.
Oh wait, everyone's dead.
Vince, what do you got going on with Willpower right now? What's in the works?
I'm trying to work on issue 6. Oh my gosh, never put out a book one issue at a time. That's if I can ever tell you, a lesson I've learned. That is it. I brought in a new.
There's a new title.
New title called Guardians.
And who's that by?
This is created by a gentleman named Todd Black, and it's about two almost like guardian angels that arrive at this perfect city, and one is I forget what they. Well, no, one is controls elements, and the other controls chaos, and they're really more like caretakers of the city, but they just don't know how to interact with the people, and no one knows their origin. That's something new that's going on.
Is this an all ages title?
It is an all ages book. It's the art is pretty. The first issue is amazing. The second issue is switch artists, and the second issue is good, but that artist gets better in issue 3 and 4, and his work becomes really amazing.
Okay.
Is
and
4
what
out
issue?
Already?
3 is out, and 4 is slated to hit the stand soon.
And where can people get this title? It's not on. I know we're working on getting it into the Primal Paper.
We're trying to get
Comics
into
site.
the Primal Paper site right now. It's at willpowercomic.com. You can find all the books there. The Guardians is just in digital format. I did my first color book, which was Action Pack. Powerverse presents the Action Pack.
That's right.
That's finally in print now, so that can be gotten and grabbed over at willpowercomic.com, and I think over at Primal Paper, at least after
I don't think it's
tonight.
available yet, is it?
It will be
Action
after
Pack.
tonight.
I think.
Okay, yeah, we just brought some.
I think the
copies
Action
up,
Pack
so-
actually is.
Yeah, so
It's available in digital, but not in.
but now you're going to be able to get it in print and digital in both places. So
We're going to be doing some updating of the store this week. So.
yeah.
I'm very excited to see once you get 6 finished, because this will be the end of the first major story arc.
Yes, this is the ultimate, the culmination of the whole origin is over these last 6 issues. If I can finish it off, you'll really know the legend of Willpower.
And then, are you looking at a trade?
Yes. Then I wanted to color the book, but I stopped and said, I can't do it. Like I can't do the Red Knight thing, which we'll have to get to.
Yeah.
But I decided I'm going to do like a Willpower Essentials, and
like the Marvel Essentials, right?
Yeah, and make it all black and white. And I'm even thinking about putting it on that newspaper print paper, and so everybody can know the legend of Willpower. Yes. So yeah, that's what I'm up to.
And Justin, what do you have going on with Red Knight now?
Well, I also have the trade coming out. Right now, I am in the middle of a new story arc. I have a 3-part story arc in Red Knight that's going through issues 7 through 9, called Hero Today, Gone Tomorrow, which finally brings the Union of Superheroes into the series. This story arc starts with there is a murder that happens in Norfolk that is fairly mysterious. This guy who has possible connections to terrorists has been murdered in the middle of the street. No one's seen it. Martha Brown suspects that it was actually a speedster, and it turns out to be a former member of the Union of Superheroes who has turned terrorist. Therefore, it pits Red Knight Martha in a collision course with wackiness with the Union of Superheroes who are coming to investigate.
And then what issue is this?
This is issue 7 that came out in January.
Right.
Issue 8 is Almost finished, actually. I just got the art from JC, and it
And
looks...
J.C. Grande
JC
is
Grande,
the artist on this book.
on this story
I saw
arc.
the cover for that. That looks pretty good.
That
too.
cover's not bad. And
Who
it's
did
actually,
the cover for that?
It was some
that
guy. I don't
some-
know, but
Some
well, that's-
alcoholic bum.
It was really cool because it's really cool to have you here because you are the cover artist for issue 8.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I,
that's right.
God, I love that cover. It's such a beautiful piece. Oh,
I enjoyed drawing it. It was really cool.
I know it's the.
You guys want me to give you some privacy? Or?
No, it's
No,
fine.
okay.
You can watch. It's cool. But
I don't want to watch.
I'm not sure. I've asked JC Grande to do the cover for 9, but we haven't started work on that one yet. So that's what's going on. Issue 8 hopefully will be out in late April. It's not going to be in time for the Tidewater Comic Con. I hope to have it in time for the Virginia Con, though. But the trade is just about ready. Forster's sending me the last few files of the color work he's doing, and it's beautiful. He sent me part 3 first, and it just looks sensational. I actually just had Lindsay.
Now you did a Kickstarter for the trade, right?
Yeah, I did a Indiegogo. And,
Indiegogo, okay.
Let's see. And that was pretty successful. That was a really good experience. I think I'll be using Indiegogo for projects in the future. I found it to be pretty satisfying and really easy to work with. But Lindsay, my letter editor, and everything else, she's put together the covers and they look really great. The trade I think is just about ready. I'm about a week or so from getting all the files colored. Forster needed to do a couple of recolorings because he started with one computer and now he has a different computer and he kind of wanted to retouch a couple things.
Well, this is Forrester of Dogs and Sailors.
Yes, Mr. S. Forrester of Dogs and Sailors.
Our mysterious Steve Ditko-like member.
Our mysterious creator from the shadows.
Yes.
But, let's see. So that's going to be coming out, well, hopefully by the end of this month I'll have it all set up, if not in April.
Very cool.
That's the trade. That's going to be full color, right?
The full color trade. It's also going to have art gallery by some artists. Let's see. I have a short story, which was the 6-page short story called "The Struggle," and that previously was in the Free Comic Book Day special that we put out last year. And it's actually be in color this time, and that's going to be by artist James Harmon. And that's looking really well.
James Harmon did the art in the Free Comic Book Day special for the Red Knight story.
That's
you did.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
actually,
And he did
the prologue in Willpower, the Legend of Willpower issue 5.
That's right.
Yep. How are you handling the covers in your trade? May I ask?
Let's see. I am going to be. I'm still actually deciding that. I was thinking about using them sort of as chapter headings. I think that's the way I'm going to go. I'm going to decide when I see it together.
Yeah.
I may just go, oh, nah, that doesn't look so good. I'll put them in the back with the gallery. But that's kind of where I'm right now. I'm leaning towards using them as sort of chapter headings.
Yeah. That's always like the conundrum, how to use them, put them in full color, black them out, grayscale them, blah, blah, blah. There's so many ways you can do.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing about the trade. I'm also excited to. I've announced this before, but I'll mention it again. Geekvolution's Captain Logan is doing the introduction for it.
Very
That's
cool.
awesome.
And I've read it. It's beautiful, and it's really really great. And it's funny. He said I wasn't sure if this was good or not. Here, let me know what you think. And I was like, this is perfect. You killed it. I mean, this is great.
Captain Logan's a poet and doesn't know it.
That's right. So yeah, it's going to be. I think I've put together a really, really good looking book. I'm so far very proud of it. I'm pretty excited to show it to everybody. Jeff, what do you got going on?
I don't know. The Ends trade paperback is out. I don't know if we talked about that last time or not.
I can't remember, but let's.
I think it was
pretend
coming
we
close
did.
to being out. It collects the first three issues, the introductory storyline, black and white, color cover with new art for the covers. I basically went and redid the Hero Machine covers to be more like the style of the art of the book. And there's there's a cover gallery that collects all of the original covers as well as some unused covers, and then there's like a little who's who of the characters in the back to kind of give you a what's what with each of the main characters. 140 pages at the low price of $4.99. And it's been selling pretty well since it came out. I like to think it's selling well, not just because it's really cheap, but because it's interesting and people like it.
That's the reason.
I'm currently working on issue 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it issue 10?
Yeah. You officially beat everybody to
Issue
10.
10. That's right. Kicking all y'all's asses. What's up? Yep. Issue 10. I'm actually doing principal photography for issue 10 this week.
Oh, cool.
It is mostly written. So I'm shooting to have it out by the end of April. And then that will be kind of the climatic conclusion of the current storyline, and then it kicks off a new storyline. Big changes in store for the book that I won't really talk about because I want people to be surprised by them. And I don't know what else is going on. I'm in talks with somebody to do a role-playing game. Well, not a role-playing game. I'm in talks. There's an open source system called the Fate system. And since the end, it started originally as an RPG, a pen and paper RPG, back in the late 80s, early 90s. And since all that source material is basically what became this book 25 years later, I thought it would be nice to release a gaming supplement, so that using the Fate system, so that people can sit down and play with the characters or make their own characters in that and play around in the Ends world, which really is kind of a depressing place. I don't know why anybody would want to go there, but and I don't know what else.
You could break history, make history by having a role just to commit suicide. I did it. I was successful.
And I'm actually kicking around an online strip in the Ends universe, like maybe a weekly strip or something like that. That if I actually decide to go ahead and kick it off, I'll have I'll make an announcement on the site for that.
Cool.
What else we got? We got some cons coming up. We just did a con. We did the Tidewater. No, not Tidewater.
Yes.
VA Comic Con up in Richmond.
Yeah.
We got to meet Herb Trimpe. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Trimpe or Trimp.
Is it
I think
Trimpe?
I
it's
have
Trimpe.
no idea.
Mr. Trimpe, if I'm getting your name wrong, I apologize.
Yes.
I seriously doubt that you're listening to us, though, so I guess I'm probably safe. Somebody's going to tell him now.
Actually, I got an email saying the last podcast was amazing. He wrote me.
Yeah?
He and Stan said it was amazing.
Yeah. Stand on his meds.
He's like waiting for the next one to come out.
I'm pretty sure Stanley hasn't listened to this podcast. I don't think he'd be particularly thrilled with some of the things we've said. What else? So we just did that. We did that Comic-Con.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that con.
Yeah.
We all met Herb, and he couldn't be nicer.
Yeah, he signed a thing for me, and I'm talking to him about. I'm thinking about him for the cover of the annual.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I would love.
I was in talks with Jim Steranko to do a cover, but sadly, I'm just too small for Mr. Steranko, I guess. Or he's just too busy.
I actually asked him about the the whole Wolverine thing. We get time. I was surprised when he told me.
Yeah, we got a second now.
Hey,
We're here.
We're doing a show.
podcast. Oh my god! No, he just said that he drew him as this Canadian character, and that the claws were never a part of his body. They're just things on the suit, and he didn't have a healing factor or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So
I could definitely see that.
I was really surprised. And he was like, he wasn't. He's like a god now. This is what he said. He's like a god now. I mean, the fact that he can, heal from anything, and he was just supposed to be almost like an assassin, and the whole thing was the suit. Mm-hmm. That you put the suit on, you pull the knives out, and you're ready for business. So almost like a 007 of Canada is what he almost said that needed a suit to fight. I thought it was kind of cool.
It's amazing how he's evolved since then. I mean,
Yeah.
I completely believe that. I mean, just I remember when I first saw him, I was confused for a while if the claws came out of the gloves or his arm. And I remember when I found out it was out of the arm.
Yes.
I guess I was a little disturbed by that when I heard that.
Yeah, and I kept wondering how. And remember those little silver.
Yeah. That's the thing always with. Yeah.
That's where they were housed in the suit.
Yeah.
But then they sort of evolved it and changed it, and
because that was my thinking too. It's like, well, he's got those little bullet things on his gloves, so. Oh, of course, this is like, oh God, how old was I? Like maybe 11 when I, really encountered the character for the first time.
Yeah, and he said they just made up characters back then. He was just a throwaway character.
Yeah.
Something to like, I think Wendigo and the Hulk were fighting.
Yes.
And he was just supposed to be some throwaway character that came in and distracted them, and he was never supposed to show up again. Isn't that like they just did some wild stuff back then, just created stuff on the fly, and I mean, can you imagine how fun that must have been? But at the same time, how like chaotic.
I've had moments where creating where I've kind of like almost kit bash characters together, like for a story I was doing, either in Red Knight or some of the other things I've written, and I can only imagine what it's like to be kind of working in that environment and that kind of situation where you're working in a pre-existing universe, with a bunch of other guys, and they're putting these kind of crazy concepts together. So I guess it really probably shouldn't be that surprising that Wolverine became godlike.
Yeah.
It isn't. I don't know. It's kind of funny. Like one of the guys who created it, kind of looks at the character, and I wonder how much he feels like. Geez, I don't even know this character.
I don't even know the character anymore.
It's like I can claim creatorship, but
maybe that's what's needed. I mean, the spontaneous evolution of a character that like, could you imagine Red Knight evolving?
I don't know. It just especially out of my hands. Like if other people took him, I'm not sure where he would go after that. I mean. I have my idea as to what his story will be, but I mean, if it was in a different situation like that where other people could take the reins, I have no idea. I don't know. I guess I would be kind of almost really fearful. Like I don't want. I mean, what about you?
You actually, I kind of embrace the idea of change. I want to see what. Well. I guess if your character's well established, you wouldn't fear it. But if it's still in its infancy stage, maybe you don't want to have that happen.
I've said this on many occasions. I fully intend to sell the movie rights to my characters for a big bag of money, and then they can get Dolph Lundgren and Jean-Claude Van Damme to play them, and Peregrine will be a tap dancing idiot or something like that.
Yeah, as long as the check clears.
I won't go see it, but as long as the check clears, I don't care.
Yeah, as long as the check clears, you could get Shia LaBeouf.
But as far as the comics, no.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to write them.
Well, you would. So you don't mind if Jamie Foxx is playing?
Whatever. I don't give a damn. I won't go see it. I don't know why Jamie Foxx would want. Jamie Foxx is actually a decent actor.
Well, he is what's his name? Electro.
Electro.
Yeah, we've got cons coming up.
Yeah.
What do we got coming up? We got Tidewater Comic Con,
That's the first one, yeah.
First one in Hampton Roads area in quite some time.
Yeah. The last couple of cons I remember in Virginia Beach were like more like dealer shows. Not anything.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, they used to have kind of like a dealer show in Pembroke.
Those were the best.
Pembroke Mall.
I love those.
Trilogy used to come out, and Xenos came out.
Yeah, those are great. I remember with some friends, we hung out literally all day.
Yeah, skip school.
Yeah, well, it was a Saturday. So.
No.
But those were fantastic. I used to love those.
I think Justin was too good to skip school.
Yeah, I was. I skipped summer school. But then we have the Tidewater Comic Con.
Tidewater Comic Con, April 12th.
Yes.
Headed up by Mike Federale, who, by the by, I put out a question on the Facebook as far as is there anybody out there that had any questions or things that we'd like discussed. And Mr. Federale actually chimed in on our Facebook comments here. He said,
It's an all-star episode here.
Yes, it
he
is.
doesn't apparently like full sentences, but he says, anthology, ? Crossovers, ? Red Knight buttons, no question mark, but I assume there's a question mark
Okay.
implied there. So,
We actually have.
Mike Federale is going to be running the Tidewater Comic Con, or is running the Tidewater Comic Con.
Yep,
and
that's
we're going to have a
his
table and a panel, and we're going to do all sorts of stuff. Because there's a $1,000 cosplay thing going on. Like, not $1,000 to cosplay, but like a $1,000 prize.
Wow. That's a
That
good deal.
they got a donation for from some company. I forget what it was. And since we're not being paid to plug them, I don't really need to remember what they were. But so looking at since he actually asked, we kind of did an anthology with the Free Comic Book Day issue.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have any plans to do that in the future. Crossovers, people, I just don't get it, and maybe I'm just, I never, with the exception of the Muhammad Ali Superman issue. And then the Spider-Man Superman crossover that I thought was pretty well done back in the, I guess it was the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. I just don't get it because usually crossovers suck.
Well, usually, but I mean,
It's like a watered down.
But
Nothing ever changes. The only crossover
Yeah.
in recent memory that I've read that I really thought highly of was the Aliens.
Predator.
No, it was Aliens and
Batman.
Stormwatch.
Island Stormwatch. Wow.
Where they killed like 4/5 of the team, and it actually had lasting. It set up the Authority. It really had like a lasting impact. That most crossovers that don't have any sort of impact, they don't really tell a story that matters.
Have you ever read the Batman Grendel crossover from Matt Wagner?
I haven't, and it's odd that I haven't because I'm a big Matt Wagner fan.
I think you would
A
like
huge fan of Mage.
I think you would like this. It came in prestige format in 2 parts. I don't know if you remember. It was like 92, 93.
Yeah.
And it was written and drawn by Matt Wagner.
Right.
Wow.
And
There was a planetary crossover with Batman that
Yeah.
was kind of interesting, but it was different because it was the planetary team cycling through alternate dimensions.
it seemed more jokey.
No, it was cool because it like picked up the different versions of Batman throughout the years and kind of. But it wasn't. But again, it wasn't anything that had any sort of lasting impact, and it doesn't. It's difficult for us to do a crossover. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
It's difficult for us to do a crossover because our worlds
Don't match up at all.
have very different histories and very different things going on. We've talked about pretty much the only way we could do anything would be a multiverse.
Yeah.
Which I'm behind, and we've actually got a script that we're kind of kicking around.
Yeah. That's true.
That features all the characters that it's kind of cool. I kind of like it. We're still kind of getting into a point to where I think it's not quite there yet. But I'm actually doing a crossover with the Willpower universe, but it's
that's right.
but it's a kind of sideways thing.
Yeah.
In the last issue, in issue 9 of the Ends, the Master of the Blade has been banished from our dimension by the mysterious and powerful Triumvirate, and he's going to end up in the Willpower universe, sort of, in a sideways. No, if you don't know what it is, if you don't read Willpower, you probably won't catch it. But if you read Willpower and you read this particular issue, which will probably be. It's probably mapped out for issue 12 or 13, somewhere around there.
And we do have cross readership.
We do, and those people will see that and they will get really excited. But I just don't. I never. Even the company even where it's a shared universe. Like I think of the Executioner song.
Yeah.
The fucking the Heroes Reborn, which just sucked.
Oh, Heroes Reborn was terrible.
And but people really seem to be into crossovers, and
Yeah, I always think that the reason why is because in the fans' eye, we're all part of the same universe anyway.
but we're so not.
And not just us. I'm talking about just all their comic knowledge, all their comic nostalgia in their brain
Yeah.
is all a part of their comic experience.
Well, I think this stems. Yeah, I think this stems a lot from just simple basic fan conversations. Like who would who would win in these struggles between like Hulk and Superman or Gamera and Godzilla. Like
Exactly.
These are basically just kind of just fan. I don't know. I don't want to say fan porn, but I guess it is
because in reality, I mean, to them, it's all knowledge that they hold, and they're wondering who would win or why hasn't it happened. Because to them, it's all the same thing. Why hasn't the Hulk been teleported onto the deck of the Enterprise and tore that sucker up yet?
Which is an obvious question.
Which is an obvious question.
I guess.
You know?
I mean, Willpower and Todd McClane, if they came into the Ends universe, would probably just become heavy drinkers. It's. I mean,
he would be rather discouraged.
42 is 41. 42. I keep doing that. 41 is also a post-apocalyptic universe, but it's a different.
It's not even the same post-apocalypse.
It's just the storylines are just so. The Ends is a very self-contained. But I can see it existing in a multiverse. I can see. I mean, and I'm actually committing to that with this crossover.
I'm not sure if you all have heard about the whole Pixar United Universe thing.
I've heard that. I've heard people kind of piece it together.
Yeah, and it's become like a pretty big fan thing online where they say all the stories are one storyline.
Yeah, which is funny hearing like the Brave is the one that's supposed to have started the timeline.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny.
And I would love to have someone do that to to the Primal Paper stuff. Because Bob France, who's the creator of 41, he hasn't really gotten to the event that happened 41 years prior to cause this apocalyptic world. And so, what is that event? Mm-hmm. Is it something that happened in the Ends, the Red Knight? Fans
I can tell you that it's absolutely not anything that happened in the Ends, because I know what happens.
Red Knight.
I have the story is plotted out from issue 1 to issue 72, and I know how the world. I know how the end. I know how it all ends.
Mm-hmm. But see, the fan would say, "Oh, you have it plotted out to issue 72. That thing takes place in 73."
Right.
Well, it hasn't happened yet, so
I can guarantee you that it does not take place in 73. It's not pretty. It's not a happy. It's not. I'm just saying. I mean, I love your characters and I love your worlds, but your characters would need serious meds to exist in my universe. They would just be like, I don't understand why anybody bothers to try.
But you know what? That makes me ask the question. What happened to the days of characters that had serious problems with like substance abuse, marital situations?
I can't really see I really can't see Willpower doing drugs.
Yeah, but you got Dr. Dodd could seriously be tripping on some stuff. This is why he's like, wow, I can see the universe. I mean, it used to be really, really something they dealt with a lot.
You still kind of have it.
Well,
that
used to happen in DC, and Spider-Man dealt with that from time to time. And
Tony Stark's claim to fame was that he was a billionaire playboy alcoholic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
he still actually there was actually a storyline a while back, not too long ago, where they referenced that.
They also referenced that during Fear Itself, actually, when he needed to give a sacrifice in order to meet Odin, and he sacrificed his sobriety.
Yeah.
And,
oh wow! Really?
I mean, and a lot of people, whenever Tony Stark starts acting erratic, the first thing the people around him check for is, has he been drinking? Have you been drinking, Tony?
You been drinking?
No. Yeah. That was the 70s. God damn it.
Even Iron Man isn't the only one in the Avengers. Captain Marvel has had a drinking problem from time to time.
I mean,
really?
Yeah. I remember the first major story arc I saw with her was dealing with her having a problem. She even showed up to a battle drunk in one story.
Yeah, Warbird. Yeah,
when she was in her...
She got kicked out of the Avengers because of it.
Yeah, she was fired because of it.
Yeah, Ant-Man.
How much was this? Well, there was... I just read something. It was from post-Civil War when Osborn was wearing the armor.
Yeah.
and I don't know what the context is. I just saw it on Reddit. It was a single page, and I must have missed the issue when it came out, but it was so funny. It was Osborn was in the Iron Patriot armor, and Ant-Man was there. Oh, so Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man. And Osborn's like, still beating you women, and Pym is like, you still throwing them off of bridges? I was like, oh, sick burn. That was awesome.
Yeah, we need more of that.
Yep. Osborn is the kind of guy who makes wife beaters look good.
I don't really have any.
He's
None of
not
my
awful.
characters are drug addicts or anything like. I mean, I guess Kid Nighthawk probably has a whiskey problem, but
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
there's not really any place to go get whiskey in the universe
But you know
anymore.
what? You know what, Justin?
Yeah.
The Red Knight really has the premise to deal with something like that.
It does, and Todd McClane kind of grew up with it. He's not. He does.
'Cause he
he's
works
not
in a
some-
bar.
He works
Yeah,
in a
he
bar,
works
so
in
he
a
really
bar.
doesn't have a problem with that. Nathan, however, I don't even know if I've had any scenes that have been published yet. Actually, in issue 10, I show that he does smoke, which is becoming more and more of an anomaly in comics.
I'll tell you,
And
it's becoming an anomaly everywhere. People look at me like I freaking kill baby bunnies or
Oh, yeah.
something every time I light up. I'm like, God damn it, I'm outside. Fuck you.
I do, yeah. I have actually I have a scene like that in Red Knight 10 where he has to smoke
outside
outside.
in the open air and let me smoke my fucking cigarette and stop looking at me like I killed Christ. Jesus.
And I actually will. I probably will address that a little bit. I mean, Nathan doesn't have too much of a problem, but he's had his ups and mostly downs. So yeah, he has. I wouldn't go so far as say he's had a drinking problem, but it's there when he needs it.
And I was just thinking about this today. Your Red Knight is set in Norfolk, Virginia. That's where Primal Paper is based.
That's right.
And we have a unique situation here where I guess after Prohibition, somehow all of our liquor stores are state owned and state ran.
Yeah.
And yet, you can I guess you can buy beer and so forth from a regular store. But that in order for him to run a bar, he has to have a liquor license and all this other stuff. I mean, that's some material there that I think the great Cristelli could pull something off with. Someone added some additive to the alcohol, and now it's becoming is super addictive, and now Red Knight has to figure out who has tapped this water source for.
That's not bad.
I mean, maybe.
I don't know.
So we got some other cons coming up. That we're
Oh
gonna be
yeah,
doing.
we were talking about
Oh
cons.
yeah, the Comic Cons, yeah.
So we're doing Tower to Comic Con April 12th at
Sheridan, I think. No.
it's on Bonnie Road.
Yeah, Body
What
Road.
is it,
Clarion.
Clarion.
And then we're doing VA Comic Con at the end of the month.
End of the month.
I think that's the 28th, but don't quote me on that.
I think it's
And
the
then
27th. I
we're
can check
also looking at, this is still kind of in the air because we have to pay for it, but we're talking about doing Philadelphia Comic Con, Philadelphia Wizard World, which I'm pretty excited about because I love Philly and I love Philadelphia Comic Con. And then we're also looking at, we'll be doing all of the VA Comic Con one-day shows, and then we're going to do the two-day show in November.
Yeah.
And Wizard World is coming to Richmond.
Which surprised me. I was really blown away by the fact they're doing a Richmond.
Apparently, they actually tried to buy VA Comic Con. This is the first I'd heard of it. I got an email the other day where somebody mentioned it. And apparently VA Comic Con turned them down. I don't know what they offered. And, it's Wizard World, so Garrett Shamus has been known, is fairly well known for pinching pennies, let's put it that way. And I believe he's still the primary owner of Wizard World, so. Now that nobody's going to know that there was a Wizard magazine in a few more years.
Isn't it amazing? Because that was pretty much the Sports Illustrated of
It's
comic
gone.
culture.
And there's nothing really to replace it.
There hasn't been. I've been thinking. I mean, CBG Comic Buyer's Guide went down a couple of years ago.
Did they go fully digital, didn't they?
I think they're actually. I think they went down now.
I think they went down, but I think they just came back up.
Okay.
But it has all moved.
I know they stopped publication.
It has
on
all
them.
moved online. Bleeding Cool is...
Yeah, Bleeding Cool.
Comic book resources.
Comic book resources. I mean, there used to be a book called Hero Illustrated that was pretty cool.
I remember Hero Illustrated.
Yeah.
There used to be... I mean, now the Kirby Collector is still in business, but, I mean, they're kind of a niche market in that they really only talk about Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
It's they still
actually have some of those.
do they still do the Comic Journal?
I think that's gone, too.
So why did Wizard go down? I mean,
Sales. Yeah.
Yeah, simple.
But distribution, I mean, their circulation was down. From what I read, it was just... And it was not pretty. I actually just... I don't know where it is. I just saw it the other day. I actually have the last issue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I used to pick it up every time it came out.
Me too. I used to enjoy it.
They moved to a full magazine size as opposed to kind of the digest size that they had for a number, maybe a year. Price went up. They got more and more focused on, much like Wizard World, on the movies and the TV shows and stuff like that.
And non-comic related too.
It was becoming like when one cover had like Lost on the cover, and I was like, "What the?"
Yeah.
If I want to read about Lost, I'll pick up People magazine or whatever. But I want to read about comics. And
That's actually when they lost me. I remember picking up I guess maybe the first issue of that. Very
well, there was a
disappointed.
lawsuit for years. I mean, I always
Because-
kind of had a love-hate relationship with Wizard World because I have a relationship with the Overstreet family.
Yeah.
And my best friend is Robert Overstreet's nephew. And when Wizard came out, I mean, I don't know that this was ever proven, but there was a lawsuit in which it was alleged that basically Wizard magazine didn't actually do any of the research. They just took the Overstreet price guide values and tacked on a couple extra bucks per comic. Whereas Robert Overstreet and his team with the Overstreet price guide had actually done research. We're getting reports from comic retailers to find out what particular issues were selling for. Did a lot of legwork on that. And for years it was you bought comics at the Wizard magazine prices and you sold them at Overstreet prices because the Overstreet prices were always lower. But Wizard magazine is gone, and the Overstreet price guide, although it has been bought out, as far as I understand, is still in existence and still doing fine work. So
I think I met the editor of Overstreet at the gala at the Jeppe Museum. And somehow Diamond owns Overstreet.
I don't know exactly what I know that Robert Overstreet sold the brand to somebody, and I forget who it was. Some sort of publishing company, might have been Diamond.
Yeah.
I don't think Diamond publishes, but maybe they have a publishing arm.
Well, they still publish their catalog.
And then
somebody has to publish it.
Yeah, true. And then he stayed on. Part of the deal was that he was to stay on as the editor or something like that, producer, publisher. I don't know. So yeah, we've got those going on. What do we got? We got a new Marvel movie coming out here next month, right?
Yeah, the Captain America.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
finally.
My sources tell me, like I have secret sources that nobody else knows about.
You have sources? Do we have sources?
Yes.
My sources tell me the best Marvel movie yet.
It looks like
hands down.
It looks like it.
References being made, probably because of Robert Redford, but to some of the old Robert Redford spy movies.
Oh, wow.
Very, very much more adult oriented Marvel movie.
And I think they needed that. I think they needed to touch more adult in one of their upcoming films.
We've seen Cap in it, and Cap's got a thank the goddess above that they put him in a decent costume.
Yeah.
Because the uniform he was wearing in Avengers was just awful.
Yeah,
I was just like, how'd they spend so much money on the movie and nobody noticed the Cap looks like a prat? It just looks like I mean, and like in his first movie, he looked cool because he had like the World War II gear.
Oh, it was awesome.
Over top, he had the World War II helmet, and it worked.
It worked.
And I was like, and all you got to do to update him don't put him in blue fucking spandex.
No.
Put him in modern combat gear over the shirt, and he's good to go.
He's good to go.
But no,
No.
they haven't done that with this costume, with this uniform. But it's toned down and it's nicer. And then they actually show him in like a shield,
Yeah.
standard issue uniform, which I think was borrows heavily from the design for the Black Nick Fury, who was supposedly the son of Nick Fury, but apparently losing an eye is a congenital defect, or it's like a
That's
hereditary.
Just science, Jeff.
I don't know, but it seems like they're using that costume. We talked about that in the
we did.
Right? Just make it to where he was always black. Just make it to where he was always black if you want to do that.
Yeah, have a time thingy happen and
don't give him a black son. And then mother, who knows what the mother is? I assume she must be,
she must be
sister.
Leela from
but then,
Futurama.
Like, it's just a hereditary defect that he doesn't have an eye. I don't.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Plus, since when is running a major spy agency like an hereditary position?
Yeah.
Like, my son will take over the
very-
CIA. No, this is not how our country. Whatever.
Some very, very bad
Back,
nepotism.
make him black, and then you have Spider-Man socks on.
I do have
That is
Spider-Man socks.
fucking awesome.
Yeah. Lindsay gave me these.
Just retcon it, make him where he's black all the time, and then you can go back and tell some cool stories about Black Nick Fury in World War II and how much it sucked for him.
Yeah, dude.
Because newsflash, being black in the 40s wasn't necessarily the best gig.
No.
But this movie, you got Robert Redford in it.
Yeah.
As like some sort of he's somehow like an older head of S.H.I.E.L.D. or
He seems shady, like he's having some. I
maybe
don't know
S.H.I.E.L.D.
exactly what's
operative.
going on.
I don't know the exact thing.
He might
I mean,
be
I know
having
the
a feud with Fury, maybe.
I don't
That
know.
would be my
It sort of
guess.
sounds like
And then you had the Winter Soldier, which was Bucky, which violated the rule that Bucky and Uncle Ben stay dead.
wow.
But they brought him back. They brought Bucky back as like he had been captured by the Russians or revived by the Russians and given a metal arm, and he was this super shadowy, secret KGB agent who, while Cap was asleep, the Winter Soldier was doing all sorts of fucked up shit, dastardly deeds,
And even had history with Black Widow.
And then we have Black Widow in this, who, I mean, some of my friends don't really care that much for her. Like, they just don't think she acts very well. But
I like her.
I like her. I mean,
I can't actually separate. And this is horrible. I really can't separate how hot she is.
Yeah.
I don't care if she can act.
I think she can act. It's the difference between overacting and subtle, and I think she has that kind of subtle
She's
style.
been lost in translation. She kind of. But I really can't tell how much of it is.
I liked her
just paid
scene
money to watch her for like 2
heck
hours.
yeah. I loved her scene in the Avengers where she was tied up in the chair and she was
I love that.
interrogated by the Russians or just whatever, and she just hold on, I almost have him, and then
He was telling me everything. I wasn't telling you everything.
she showed some depth of the character when she went to get Bruce Banner and she was afraid of the Hulk.
Oh, my favorite character by far was Ruffalo's Banner.
Oh yeah, Banner.
I like, and I get like a Hulk movie is kind of hard to sell. It's a difficult movie to do, but I can't wait to see more Ruffalo.
Now, is there any kind of progress on that? I'm
Nothing
actually
that I've heard.
a little surprised how little I hear about.
The Falcon.
The Falcon.
Finally coming to the screen, the Falcon.
And he looks bad.
He looks well.
bad.
They obviously tapped the Ultimate Marvel version of the Falcon with the metal wings.
Oh yeah.
No pet bird.
No pet bird.
No speaking to the birds.
That we know of.
Which is fine. I don't need that.
The pet bird was kind of cool, but this is fun.
Yeah, but I don't. It's
Now,
kinda
if
hard to
they
maintain that.
continue to tap, if they full on tap the Ultimate Marvel in the Ultimate Marvel universe, Falcon was a scientist.
Oh wow.
He's like a brain on the scale of like Tony Stark.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
I've always considered the Ultimate universe almost like a farming idea.
Yeah.
Well, it really is.
For,
much
films.
much of the Marvel
Because
film
what we've
universe
seen,
is coming from
The Ultimate.
the Ultimate.
I think a lot what I've
You've
liked
got
about
Nick Fury,
Yeah.
With Samuel
Well, that's
Jackson.
obvious, yeah.
Samuel Jackson was
Well, sure.
Samuel Jackson they drew Samuel L. Jackson
Into
for Nick
the
Fury.
comic.
And then, like, the movie came.
Are they breaking laws when they do that?
I think they asked him if it was cool, and he was like, "Fuck yeah, it's cool, motherfucker." So he's Samuel L. Jackson, and he doesn't say a sentence without motherfucker in it.
Yeah.
Nick Fury just cursing up a storm.
I'm telling you, man. And then no Hank Pym.
No, Hank Pym.
Yeah.
There is an Ant-Man movie coming.
Yeah,
out.
and Hank Pym is in the film.
So
Michael Douglas is playing him.
such a big,
Really?
Yeah.
such a difficult character to bring. He's just
Well, he's,
Marvel has a Hank Pym problem. Like they can't, unless they just go back and completely retcon that he never beat his wife.
well, and also he has quite a few problems.
not
I
an
mean,
acceptable hero.
outside of being a wife beater, which is a number one problem, but also the fact that the character can't keep a name to save his life.
Right.
I mean, I've lost track of
Well,
how
he was
many aliases
bipolar
he's
for a
had.
little while. I mean, he's just a complicated. I mean, Michael Douglas is kind of skeezy.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he's
no
actually a
offense
good
to Michael
choice.
Douglas if you're listening, but some of the characters that you've played, you're a Fatal Attraction guy, really shouldn't have cheated on your wife. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He's kind of a skeezy dude. He's probably the perfect casting for an older Hank Pym.
Yeah, I think so.
I actually love the character, and so much of the Marvel universe stems from Hank Pym.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Well, they
from
just.
Ultron
the whole Age of
to-
Ultron thing completely focuses
from
on
that.
how important Hank Pym is.
Didn't he have something to do with the Vision?
Yes, he did.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, actually, he created Ultron, and Ultron created the Vision.
Vision.
So he's like his
Sort of.
grandfather.
I thought the Vision was the body of the original Human Torch.
Yes.
that was also.
But then the Human Torch got another body or
It
something.
became-
I don't
yeah.
know.
Phineas Fogg
Yeah,
created
yeah.
the Human Torch, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
and
Which, by the way, doesn't that Human Torch body show up in the first Captain American film at that fair?
yes, yeah, I think so. And he becomes the Vision, I think.
Yeah.
I think he becomes a Vision. But that's old Marvel versus when they revamped it.
Yeah.
But Hank Pym. I mean, gosh, Ant-Man, Giant Man. He's a really cool character. I seen one time when they showed him wrestling, and he was swimming in some ocean. He was fighting like these giant, I don't know, leviathans of the sea, and then he kills them with like he's wearing like a loincloth and a knife, and he like jumps on, he stabs him in the head, and he kills him, and all of a sudden he gets like this beep, 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 and he looks outside and he sees this huge watch, and I guess he like increases his size. He's in a petri dish. He's like fighting some bacteria. I mean, Hank Pym, he's just an awesome character.
Yeah. A lot of problems with Hank Pym.
Yes.
But did you hear the real story that he was never supposed to hit his wife? What the script is that he was supposed to push her back out the way to talk to someone. But when the artist drew it, he interpreted it as a hit. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the
I've never heard this.
Yeah, you've heard this?
I've never heard this.
Yeah. This is what really was.
Who was the artist?
I'm not sure. I'm
I'll
not sure.
look that up. We'll talk
Yeah,
about
definitely
it.
check that out.
We'll research that.
Yeah.
And talk, we'll have like a whole thing on
Hank
Hank
Pym,
Pym the next
yeah.
episode that we do.
We will?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay.
Fuck it.
Great.
More wine. That's what I say.
All right, so...
So what else is going on? So Captain America movie looks great. The Ant-Man movie has been cast. Avengers 2 was in principal photography, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, they're already starting because Johansson actually is pregnant, so they've actually had to do some early shooting around the
I didn't know she
pregnancy.
was pregnant.
Yeah, she just
Yeah, I guess
announced
you
last
really
week.
can't have her be doing all backflips and shit, being all pregnant.
That would definitely have to change her finishing move.
What else is TV stuff? Arrow showed we got introduced to the character that's going to be the Flash. That's coming.
Yeah.
Slade Wilson is back.
Yeah.
Spoilers if you haven't watched.
Yeah.
If you haven't been watching, but that show aired like a week ago, and this is going to post up in another week. So if I spoiled it for you, fuck you. You're too lazy to watch the show.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix, and you can record on your DVR kit.
And I'm sure...
You just go to the
Hulu
freaking
Plus.
CW site.
Sure,
And
yeah, that's right.
And I'm sure
It's
it's
right
been
there.
spoiled like 80,000 times online. Just go on Facebook and you're...
what do we think of Arrow right now?
I love the show. I think they're handling the property pretty well.
It's not Oliver Queen.
It's not.
It's not Ollie.
No, it's not.
Pisses me off.
But at the same time, if you were going to revamp him in today's world, it could be him, the younger version of him, before he gets older and more cynical. before he becomes like the pothead in the 70s
Sure,
like he was.
sure. And I like the show. Let me say, and I've said this before on this podcast, I like the show. I like the guys they cast. I like the supporting characters. There's some points, like I just did like an episode where Felicity has to feel threatened by the Black Canary character.
Yeah,
who
yeah.
I don't think they're calling her the Black Canary yet, or whatever.
No.
Which was a little bit like, really, you guys didn't need to do that. It was forced. But whatever, Generally speaking, I like the show. I like the kid that they cast as the Flash, and apparently he's going to be in his own show. That should be interesting.
Oh, wow.
And apparently he's doing like a full-on, like, they're going full retard with the costume. He's going to be the Flash with the fucking wings on his head and everything.
Isn't John Wesley Shipp supposed to be in that or something like that?
I don't know who John Wesley Shipp is.
Oh,
but
he
if he's
played
the guy
the-
who's playing the Flash. Then
No. He played the Flash in the '90s show.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I think they tagged him to appear.
He is cast as a recurring role, and people were saying that he might be Jay Garrick. But there's been no confirmation.
That would be sweet. I've also heard Reverse Flash, but I'm not sure if that's true.
Reverse Flash.
I don't know if that would make a whole lot of sense. But whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to make.
Does it? I mean, does it need to?
Slade Wilson's character I find fascinating. I don't know if I was just in a mood when I was watching the last two episodes, but I know the concept of me being in a mood is
Are
shocking.
you ever not in a mood?
Fuck off, Justin.
The answer is no.
Ooh, infighting in Primal Paper, news at 11.
Dun, dun, dun.
They're going to be asking me the next time, I heard you guys weren't getting along. Are you going to break up soon?
Yeah.
No,
fine,
we're
man.
not.
It's just entertainment.
Justin and I have known each other for 25 fucking years, so...
Yeah.
But
They're actually handling. What I'm
somewhere
surprised about is that
it was a little hard to watch.
the last
Two episodes. I don't know why I found myself and it might have just been the mood I was in, but I had to like make myself watch it, and I enjoyed what I was watching, but I found myself wanting to get up and go make a sandwich or something in the middle of the show.
Was it dull or just
I
frustrating?
don't know. Maybe it was just dragging a little bit, or maybe it was like I already knew where it was going.
Yeah, with I guess his girlfriend, finally, or his ex, the girl that he was supposed to be dating, I guess dealing with her alcohol.
The character that plays the actress that plays Lauren is so bad.
Yeah,
and I don't know what the solution is. She was badly cast from the get-go.
Yes, she was. I thought so too.
She's not a great actress. I hate to say this about people.
I don't think she's a bad actress. I just thought that she.
I don't think she's great in the role.
No, and even her character is ostracized in the show.
And the whole fucking like I'm going to do drugs and drink, it just never rang true.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
Are they trying to fill that
I don't know,
place with Speedy? I guess.
Generally, that's the thing.
The character
is
with the drug problem.
They have Ron, or they have Roy.
Yeah, they have Roy.
Oh, Roy isn't.
And he's been infected with the miracle, which used to be
the Mirakuru.
The Mirakuru, which is the Miraculo drug, which was actually invented by Our Man. It was how Our Man got his powers. He would take the pill, and for an hour he would have the strength of like I don't know how many man, and he'd be fast.
12 drug addicts.
What was it? Rex Harrison or something like that.
Rex
Tyler.
Rex Tyler.
Tyler Industries. But,
Rex Harrison was a.
But DC has
actor.
completely divorced themselves from any sort of history beyond 5 years ago, and none of that ever happened. But yes, Miraculu, or however the hell you pronounce it, the miracle drug that they're taking was actually originally Miraculo, which was from Our Man, who was a member of the Justice Society of America, which has been completely eliminated from the history of the DC universe, and is gone.
That's the one thing about that particular show is that I do enjoy watching it, but
they had Cord Industries in the last one. That was kind of cool.
It's like they're making it up on the fly, and I'm trying to see. I want to watch each episode just to see. Okay, how are they going to pull off this balancing act? How are they going to pull this in?
But the writers of this show seem to have more respect for the history of the DC universe than the motherfuckers that are actually writing DC comic books right now.
Yeah. And that would be the thing I would say.
I am down to one DC book right now. No, two. I'm getting Arrow.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting Green Arrow or Arrow, whatever the fuck
it's Green Arrow.
Now. Is it Green Arrow?
The New 52 one, the regular one.
The book where they kidnapped Oliver Queen and his 40-year-old self and replaced him with a teenager.
Yeah, that guy.
But whatever,
Okay, Green Arrow, and what was the other one?
And Swamp Thing.
Okay.
Are the 2 DC books that I still get.
Wow, you
Everything
stopped
else
Batman.
is gone. I haven't read Batman in a long while.
Okay.
What are you reading, Justin?
I'm reading Marvel and Image and IDW right now.
IDW.
And then Primal Paper Comics.
Yeah, that's what I read.
Primal Paper Comics. I hear those are pretty good, man.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
But, I stopped reading DC after about a year. And I've really rediscovered Image. I'm loving, actually, I probably would read twice as much if I could afford it from Image. We were talking about, maybe this might not be a bad time to jump into this. So, what are you guys looking at these days? I'm gonna go.
What are you reading, Vince?
I don't think you and I have really talked about what you read, or are you currently reading anything?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, what I started to do was I'm really reading a lot of independent stuff. I mean, really independent, like got where you can still see the note paper on the page and the hole where the guy has drawn it in this spiral book. I'm realizing there's a commercial where it says "Life's like a poem" and you have to contribute a verse or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I realized, man, there's a lot of guys out there who have stories, and the whole thing about comics is just hearing other people's stories. It's like sitting around a cafeteria table at lunch and just BSing. So I started reading a lot of independent stuff. I'm going to Kablam a lot because we produce independent comics, so we want people to read our stuff.
Yeah,
and the big three have kind of let us down in so many ways that I kind of just pulled myself out and.
That's something I've been trying to do too, actually. Yeah.
You even said Image. I guess you can say Image is kind of big, but it's going back to its small roots.
It is. I still consider it a big three. I don't consider it completely independent. I wouldn't call what they do what we do.
No,
I would not put them.
I mean, and to be honest,
I would love for it to be that way.
In the reverse, it'd be great for us, but not good.
I
for
mean,
them.
can you give me an example of an indie book that you're reading that's really good?
Yeah. Well,
because I mean, the horrible truth about independent comics, especially at the level that we produce, and I feel like our titles are really well done, really well written, but that's kind of what makes us stand out. I think, not to be like an arrogant asshole. I mean, I kind of am, but it seems like there's a lot of indie books out there. We get a lot of submissions, and we're always happy to look at stuff, and we have to explain to people we're not a traditional publisher.
Yeah,
we're a collective. We're a group of artists that have band together, artists and writers, whatever, creators. But a lot of the stuff that we read, a lot of the stuff that I get, I'm just like, this is not anything that's ready for publication. And the three of us in this room, we're older than maybe a lot of these. We're in our 40s. Yeah. A lot of these kids are 17 or 18, and they're just starting out, and that's great. And there's a place for that. Yeah. But an indie book that's like currently out there that's really good.
I suppose Rachel Rising is really good.
Yeah, but Rachel Rising is published by Image, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Is it not? Who's publishing it?
Terry Moore's publishing it himself.
He's publishing it? But that's Terry Moore of Strangers in Paradise.
Yeah, that's true.
Who's a critically acclaimed creator.
Yeah.
I'm talking about somebody who's kind of like us, who's basically publishing this shit out of the garage.
That's kind of tricky, yeah.
I can't say. Well, actually, no, I can't say. I've been reading Advent Comics.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, it's really good. The first books they put out, I had a hard time getting through it, but this new Cosmos thing they put out is pretty good. In fact, I know the guy Tony. And I actually did some work on the Cosmos, but I did some cover work and some lettering for them. But that was really good. I was surprised by his writing prowess, and but outside of that,
we just got a submission from a guy, and we're talking. We're not everybody. Basically, the way it works for listeners out there, somebody has a concept that they want to come and join us with. One, we require that you have a finished book for us to read. Send us a finished PDF of the book, and then currently the five current creators will read it, and then we hold a vote. Majority rules. But you've got to have a complete issue that's lettered, a full issue. We prefer that it be something that gets printed, although with the Guardian's book is all digital. But that's a little bit different because that's a book that's come into the Powerverse. I mean, basically, we're set up along the same lines as Image. We're 5 independent studios that work under the title Primal Paper. And what we do within our studio, I mean, unless one of us starts publishing pornography, in which the other 4 members would be like, wait a minute.
Let me get a copy. Then you're out.
Some of us might be like, well, let's not be too hasty about this. Let's think about it. But I don't think pornography would fly under our title. We'd be like, yeah, you need to publish that on your own.
Yeah.
But we just got this thing, Orson, is that what it's called? That I thought was quite well written, and the art was great.
Yeah.
And this is something that we're talking. Everybody else needs to read it, but I thought it was really good. And I don't know. There's Clumsy Man, which is kind of a comedy. It's kind of a comedic book.
Sort of like a comedic book.
I've been reading. Well, there's only one issue so far, but there's Fight or Flight, which is from a guy who goes by the name of Movie Geek 17 on YouTube, and his real name is Alex Breen, and he's been really nice. He's been plugging Red Knight, and he actually sent me a copy of his first issue, which actually was actually really good. It's kind of a government team type of book, and one of the things that really kind of grabbed me was I really enjoyed the relationships. It really did seem like he had something grounded there, even though in the first issue he hadn't shown everything just yet. And he's supposed to have issue 2 out very soon. It's just he's in college right now, so that's kind of like.
I mean, that's the thing.
And also,
with a lot of these indie books, and when I say indie books, I don't consider IDW.
If it's like based,
I don't consider Dark Horse to be indie.
If they're publishing Star Trek, they're not indie.
I mean, these are established publishers who are working with the big boys.
Yeah.
Who are fighting and throwing punches with the big boys. Mm-hmm. And I can't agree with you as far as like the big 3 have let us down. Image is doing great work. DC sucks ass right now. If the DC if there's a DC editor that's listening to this, and I'm ruining my chances of ever getting to write a DC book, fuck you. Right now, I don't want to write any of your books because they suck that bad.
Well, I think we're only ruining our chances to work for them for 2 months before getting fired anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Well, maybe those are strong words. Well, they have let us down in the past, but maybe.
But I will say, Marvel, I think is as far as like the mainstream titles right now. I think they're doing a lot of good work. I mean, I think you and I have talked about this. I feel like they're doing some of their best work since the Shooter years.
This is true, and maybe what they have done is they sort of stepped away from the whole artist-backed phenomenon, and they focused on the writers, and now they're just
Marvel is doing phenomenal work.
Yeah.
Thor is kicking ass.
Yes.
Thor is like in the middle of a character-defining run that I think is going to rank up there easily, if not the best run, easily up there with the work that Walt Simonson did. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going on with Spider-Man. People seem to like it more now. I'm like, fuck you, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I don't want to hear any bullshit about Doc Ock, and when that's over, I'll start reading the book again. What else? Runaways was really good. I had a hard time with Runaways at first, but once I actually picked up the book and started reading it, I mean, is it a Hunger Games ripoff? Yeah, okay, but it makes sense with the whole murder world thing.
Yeah,
it's well written. I mean, Marvel's books, kind of without fail, are just well written.
I've been enjoying the shit out of like Hawkeye, for instance.
Hawkeye is phenomenal.
It's a great book.
I mean, and then we want to talk about creator-owned titles, Sex Criminals, which I think is probably easily, hands down, the most inventive, creative, crazy-ass book. You've not read this yet.
It's essentially by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky, and the first issue explains that this young woman has this particularly strange power. When she has an orgasm, time stops temporarily. She freezes time.
Once you can walk around and do shit while everybody's frozen.
Yeah. And after a while, like in her early 20s, she has sex with this one guy she meets at a party. They get along. Everything's awesome. And he also has that power.
Oh, wow.
So she needs to raise money to save her library. So he comes with this great idea. Hey, why don't we have sex near the banks and rob them? And, then we can start raising money. Well, the problem is, I think in issue 3 or 4, it establishes that there is sort of this time police that kind of like watches out for this kind of thing. So they've got themselves into this huge mess. It's really funny. It's really thoughtful. I don't know where the book's going. I mean, I have no idea. Actually, I did a top 10 issues of 2013 over at Geekvolution with Captain Logan and Dan, and I chose issue 1 as my favorite issue of the entire year of 2013 because it was just. I bought it just for the hell of it. It's like, oh, okay, this for action. This sounds interesting. And it was just
What else is
book.
really good? Saga.
Saga's
Yeah.
Saga's amazing.
Yeah.
The art is phenomenal.
Who's producing that though? Is it
Well, that's an
Image book?
Yeah, and it's
Being published through Image, but it's a creator-owned title.
it's Vaughn.
Yeah,
Brian
Brian
K.
K. Vaughan and the
Fiona
artist
Staples.
is Fiona Staples, who is just
You brought up something out that made me think. You said we get submissions and we look at it and we kind of say I'm not sure, and we look at some independent stuff and we're not really excited by it. But it made me think, who out there would you say is similar to what we are? I mean, because you said, sex criminals. I mean, that's Matt Fraction. I mean, yeah. You can say it's independent all day, but it's just like
I don't know that there is another. I don't know for sure that there is another group of creators like us out there right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're like a young. I mean, we're not because we're all
Old.
middle-aged men.
We're
I mean, not all of us, but
We're old broke.
Bob's in his 30s and Forrester's young. But nobody, has seen Forrester because he's a shadowy figure in a closet somewhere. But and actually, Forrester may actually join us on the next podcast. You guys might actually get to hear the voice of Forrester. We're gonna see about Skype.
We're gonna of Forrester.
Yeah. Hey guys,
We're actually going to just be quiet.
it's
Let's
me,
just let it
Forrester,
go.
creator of Dogs and Sailors.
Great job out there.
It's like you're the
No,
voice,
he's a great guy.
voice of
He's easy to
God. Just
pick on. But I don't know that there's anybody really out there that's doing what we do. I mean, there might be, but
That's actually an interesting point.
they haven't really gotten. If they are, they haven't gotten the publicity out there. Not that people know who we
big
are
time.
until we tell them who we are.
Yeah.
Well, I think the difference is that you're going to find a lot of creators out there that have their own books, that have their little masthead or whatever, and I see that all over the place. But a group, a collective of people under one masthead, saying that they're producing comics of a certain quality, I think is limited. Outside of the Image and IDW, you start to go into. I think I saw something. Iron Lion Studios, maybe.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
Outside of that, I can't really think of. And we're not doing full color books or anything else like that. You might have these great one-offs, like the Blaze Brothers just signed a deal with IDW, but before then they were independently published. But like I know Iron, what's his name? Midnight Tiger was a great book, but it's not under.
Oh, wait, are you talking about the Street Team guys?
Street Team is another. Well,
I mean, there are. I mean, most of the really good
like Street
indie
Teams,
books.
yeah.
You've got Jeff Lemire doing Trillium. You've got Matt Fraction's doing a couple of other titles.
Yeah.
You've got what's the other one I'm reading right now? What's the title of the damn book? It's a Physics Police.
Physics, please.
The Federal Bureau of Physics or something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
SBP, I think is the name of it. And I think that's another. But it's another big. I can't remember the name of it. I'll look it up. It's another big
Yeah, Street Team was pretty hot. Man, I read a couple of their stuff. They're really good. They even had their little video game.
I picked up a copy of that at HeroesCon a couple of years ago and really loved it.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of cool. You know,
It's like I read this every month. It's just
yeah.
I don't know who they are. Simon Oliver and Robbie Rodriguez. I don't know who they are, actually.
Okay.
I guess they were picked up to Image or something like that.
They did have this thing called the War of Independence. It was like a big crossover of all these independent titles.
Oh, it's a Vertigo title.
Oh, Vertigo.
Oh.
Which is odd, because Vertigo hasn't been doing much since they... I mean, I don't know exactly what happened, and I don't work there, but I really got the sense that Karen Berger was kind of pushed into early retirement.
Let's see, Lindsay. My
Again, fuck you, DC.
my fiance's been reading some Vertigo.
Speaking of DC, where the fuck is the next issue of Sandman?
I don't know.
Where the fuck is it? They put the one issue out. It was so good.
Yes, it was.
And that was what? That was like October, right?
Oh my God, was it October?
It was
have
October.
no idea.
Where is issue 2? And it can't be Neil Gaiman that's holding it up, because he's a professional. It's got to be this artist, this
J.H. Williams.
I mean, who was fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah.
But he takes a minute.
Yeah.
But, well, I wonder, you know, because he had all that brouhaha about being, like, he was on Batwoman, wasn't he?
Yeah, he quit over
And
marriage.
they just totally pissed all over the storyline that they had spent, like, 3 years building.
Yeah, they could have mentioned it at some point, like, oh, we don't want them to get married. Like, oh, you mean that thing we've been building for like fucking year?
Fuck you, DC. Fuck you and your fucking ass, DC Comics. Just in case anybody out there has any... It's like they're holding these characters that I have loved since childhood hostage.
Yeah,
And they're writing these fucking... Have you been reading this
And
fucking...
they're releasing one every hour. Like, okay, we're going to let you have Samantha,
Justice...
Stephanie Brown.
What is it? Justice Unlimited or Justice... Total Justice or...
Yeah,
something
where,
Justice. Where Superman's a bad guy and...
the
we've
video
never
game.
done that before.
evil. Yeah.
The video game
like-
title. I just they're still doing that.
I don't understand what they have.
I
Yeah.
know.
They have these iconic,
Characters.
heroic characters,
Yeah.
and they're wrecking them.
Yeah.
The only one that's really gotten through unscathed is Batman.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah. That's because the editors are really treating them as things that they don't want to disturb or mess. They're treating them like brands, and they are brands. But you know, you have to let a brand have its own flair. I mean, even Pepsi changed its logo every once in a while.
I feel like they got bought out by Time Warner, and the movie people came in, and the comics people were pushed aside. It's editorially driven. Writers are not given free rein to do what they do best, which is fucking right.
I agree. I have felt. I mean, I read the first year of the New 52.
I don't want to
and
read
I had
stories
this
about how
feeling-
Superman is evil. Superman's not evil.
I had this feeling that I'm watching, like I'm reading some weird film, TV version of the characters I love instead
There's
of
points
reading
where it
the
reads like
characters.
bad fan
Yeah.
fiction.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's enough about DC.
Okay. I am actually
Fuck those guys.
I'm actually working on.
Yeah, I know you're doing a
fan. I'm
thing.
actually writing some Wonder Woman fan fiction for DC Prime, and you know what? Those guys really love these characters, and I sometimes look at some of their stories and I'm like, it feels like this is the real DC universe, and
I don't know.
and
I would love to
and
write Aquaman.
They're trying really hard to like do justice.
Well, you
by
know
these
how
characters.
like in the late '90s when they brought in all the Image guys to save Marvel. Not that anything was wrong with Marvel. A lot of the problems that Marvel was having was that
That was more
Marvel had
internal.
been bought out by a guy who really didn't understand what comic books were and
Yeah, the
wasn't
Revlon
letting people
guy.
do their jobs. But so to improve everybody's morale, I guess they brought in the Image Comics guy. We know how to do the new, you know. People have been writing these comics for 20, 30 years and are looking at these kids going, well, fuck you.
Yeah. That was the Reborn.
Yeah, the Heroes Reborn. But, okay, DC, you need a DC Reborn. And what you need to do is give us each $1 million and we'll come in and fix your titles for you. How about that?
Sure.
Vince can write Superman.
There you go.
You want Batman?
I'll take that one.
Okay, you take
I
Batman.
want Aquaman too.
Oh, can I have Wonder Woman then?
You can have Wonder
I
Woman.
already have my plan. I'm already starting writing. I'll just do my fan fiction as a
See,
real book.
I'm telling you what ifs. I would love to hear what your fanfic's going to be about.
Oh yeah.
I will bring back the Justice Society of America, and they will be old men who fought in the 40s. Because history matters.
There will be Wesley Dodds, right?
Yes, there will be a fucking Wesley Dodds, Sandman.
Sandman, yeah.
So many great characters. We're going to push them into Earth 2, and we're going to basically take away the thing that made them interesting, which was they were our grandfather's heroes. Mm-hmm. We're going to make them all kids again. Mm. Everything's got to be a fucking kid. Like, I'm just waiting for the knock on the door when some member of some sort of editorial staff that I'm not aware of is like, Jeff, we've decided to replace you with a 20-year-old. Come with us, please. And he'll be like, what happened? What? Wait, what?
Peregrine the Teen Year.
Oh, man. I'm just...
Jim Henson's The Ends
I
Babies.
mean, news fucking flash. Children don't buy comics. That day is done. It is an adult industry now. It is adults that are reading it. Teenagers aren't reading comic books by and far.
Yeah.
Why do I have to read about 19-year-old after 19-year-old after 19-year-old kid? Why can't we have some heroes that are our age?
Or how about some of these stories?
Because we're the motherfuckers that are supporting the industry. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, this is true.
I buy comics for my kid, and I'm perfectly happy for there to be an all-age section of the library. Alan Moore. We talked about this, where Alan Moore is like superheroes or childish fantasy, blah blah blah. Fuck you, Alan. Well, they're fucking archetypes and myth and legend, and they're just as valid as anything else to write a story around.
Exactly. Right. I heard that. I actually heard that podcast. And
I adore.
It was a good
Alan
one. I really
it
like
was
that.
a good one. And you know what I think he was saying is that the heroes are the reason why I keep saying they're icons. I have this thing called the icon equation.
Yes.
The reason why the heroes are supposed to be iconic, it was so funny because I was talking to Justin about this the other day. I mean, just while we were over at the comic shop, I was talking to him about Fat Albert, and I was saying, who are all the different characters? Fat Albert is the conscious, and this guy is he's the voice that's muffled,
yeah.
And this guy. And comics are sort of like that. The heroes are like that. They're icons for something like, and these things that they embody are supposed to be translated into these kids. And the reason why comics become so great is because you grow up with these characters and you have this long 40-year history of them.
Yeah.
So who's making heroes for the next generation? I think that's where these guys are getting confused. And where they're trying to make every character into a teenager instead of making new characters guided by these old characters. Mm-hmm. And just like you said, I buy this comic for my kid, and that is the phenomenon that needs to happen. Is that the guys, these old farts like us, are reading these books. There need to be books that we can look, check. I want to hand, hey Junior, check this out. Mm-hmm. And once that happens, then you're going to have this whole new generation, which is awesome. And I think how do you do that? Just write some really cool stuff. That's
you allow people to freaking age. You allow life to happen to your characters. You allow let Peter Parker be married. Let Peter Parker have a freaking kid. He doesn't have to be a high school. I mean, not to say that Ultimate Comics didn't go back and do some great stuff with him as a teenager, but they advance the story. He dies. Spoiler. If you haven't read that was out 5 years ago, so fuck you.
Yeah.
He dies. There are consequences. It's not Batman is 27 years old eternally.
Mm-hmm. Even though he has 27 kids that are about...
I don't even know how they shoehorn
all sorts of ages.
All right, top 3 books you're reading right now, Vince. Go.
Do it!
Nothing. The Legend of Willpower, action.
Okay.
And then Action Pack. And Guardians.
And the Guardians.
I guess, God, my favorite books right now are probably Daredevil, Ninja Turtles, and Hawkeye. And I'm very excited about the new Captain Marvel, and I have loved the first 2 issues of the new She-Hulk series.
Ultimate Spider-Man, which has been really good of late. Bendis is doing some of his best work there. Wasn't thrilled with Bendis on much of the whole Galactus Ultimate storyline, the Cataclysm storyline. I felt like he was missing some beats there. But the Spider-Man stuff is great. The character of Miles Morales is fantastic. I enjoy reading him every time I pick up the book. What else am I really liking right now? Jupiter's
Legacy?
Jupiter's
Are you
Legacy.
liking that? I
haven't
up
been
the
the
first issue.
biggest Miller fan. Millar, or whatever.
It's Millar.
However the fuck you pronounce his name. That Scottish prick.
I think that's how it's pronounced.
I don't actually know him or have any real opinion. It just amused me to say Scottish prick for some reason.
Oh, it's a real bummer of a name, eh? I guess that's how they talk.
Millar. Millar. Can't be Miller. Like I said, I don't know the guy. If I met him, I'd probably be pleased to meet him because he's written some pretty good comics. But some of his stuff has gotten a little bit, I don't know, shock for shock's sake. I go back and forth on Kick-Ass. There's things I really like about it, but there's other things where I'm like, I don't know if I like this. But he's on issue 3 right now of Jupiter's Legacy. The art, it's Frank Quitely doing the art. It's phenomenal.
I love Frank
Some of the best art that I've seen him do. I don't know. There's something about it. There's a gravitas to it that I'm enjoying. And then, I don't know, for my third book, I don't want to punk out and say Sex Criminals because we just talked about that.
You can say Sex Criminals. It's not a
I am
rule.
really enjoying Sex Criminals. Actually, I'm going to go back to Thor.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I'm surprised you never even mentioned it.
Jason Aaron's the writer.
Jason Aaron,
right?
yeah.
The work he's doing on that book. There was an issue where he just comes at it from this concept of, we all sit around and go, well, God is dead, or maybe there's a God, or I don't know if I believe in God, or I believe in God, but I can't see him. But in the Marvel Universe, you can see God flying around with a hammer. And you can actually go up to God and say, God, why are things fucked up? And he actually has people like Thor answering prayers. Attending to the business of being a god.
I have often wondered how difficult it is to be an atheist in a Marvel or DC.
I don't think you can. I think
don't
because
it's possible.
there's Thor.
Yeah.
There's Thor, yeah.
And Mephisto. I
Yeah.
mean, they kind of say you can't. I think there was an edict I think Stan Lee once said you can't actually show the devil. You can call him Mephisto, but you can't actually show Satan, and you can't actually show God. And there is a little bit of, they tap dance around this a little bit, that they're not so much, like the Norse gods aren't gods, they're just an incredibly advanced race of beings.
I mean,
might as well be gods, whatever. I mean, but Thor actually answers prayer. Jason Aaron is not playing around with, well, they might be gods. He's like, this is a god. This is a god in the flesh that exists on our planet, who has sworn to protect our planet. And if you have a problem with why things are the way they are, you can go say to him, hey, Thor, why are things are the way they are?
This isn't the series where there's like an old Thor and a young Thor.
Yeah.
I heard
That's great stuff. And he hasn't abandoned the future timeline stuff either. He has old Thor coming back to Earth, and Galactus. In the last issue, Galactus had come back to Earth this is like 50 million years in the future or something like that. Much like, well, I don't want to talk too much about that.
Okay.
I mean, earlier you said that this is a pivotal point in the character's history. These characters are just archetypical.
It's a complete deconstruction of the character.
So, I mean, if you were a history teacher, would you assign this as a reading? And why isn't that not done?
Well,
okay, you got some 17, you got some 16.
Well, I can tell you why
kids.
this stuff isn't done. Okay,
Yeah.
first of all, it was because our education system is so fucking pussified. Excuse my French. I mean, I actually, I am a professional poet. I was a performance poet for a number of years.
I've seen some of your performances.
And before I had anything to do with comic books other than reading them, I was doing poetry, and I still do poetry.
Yeah.
I'm in semi-retirement right now, but and I at one point actually wanted to do something. I got asked to do a program with the schools where some poets would come in, like real living poets, not bullshit like Edgar Allan Poe, been dead for 100 years, but living, breathing poets who are out there And that's what they do with poetry, coming into the schools and working with the kids and getting them excited about poetry. And I couldn't get a poem approved.
You couldn't get a poem?
I couldn't get a poem approved to work with them on. Like,
Oh.
I gave them like a whole
wow.
breadth of work.
Okay,
And
yeah.
because I'm dealing with real shit in my work, they were like, no, we can't. No, that might be, that's got bad language in it. And, you know, even the stuff that I kind of sanitize a little bit, which I never do. I've never done for anything else, but I was like, to get one of these poems in front of the kid, I'll sanitize the language some. And still, no, that's too political. That's too controversial. We don't want any parents complaining. And this is why kids don't dig on poetry, because the stuff they teach it. One, they teach the stuff in such a bloodless, sanitized manner that why would they be interested in it?
Exactly.
All of the life has been sucked out of it. Shakespeare was a motherfucking gangster. People getting murdered left and right. Brothers sleeping with sisters. And, oh my God.
Well, he's the one he wrote for the cheap seats, really.
And they don't let any of that. I mean, they
yeah.
don't teach it in such a manner that it's real. You know, get thee to a nunnery from Hamlet. You know what they saw? What he's telling her?
What is he
Go to a whorehouse. Go to a whorehouse. You're a whore. You can't get that into the schools.
No.
You can't get anything real into the schools, and this is, if you want to teach your kids, you got to sit down with them after school and show them that this stuff is living and breathing.
But that's why I say,
So no, I couldn't give Thor because one, Thor is a god. Well, that would piss off the the contingent of the Sunday school moms in like 4 seconds flat. They'd be, "What are you coming in? What are you teaching my kid?"
Yeah, don't I have to sign a waiver or something about that?
Could you imagine? You imagine?
I mean, for God's sakes.
If your reading assignment was like Frank Frazzetta's Daredevil, and the current thing that's happening in Thor right now, or Frank Miller's 300, or something like that.
Or Watchmen.
Watchmen. Oh my gosh.
I'd love to see Watchmen.
I mean, these kids would be reading it, talking about it. You're talking about new fans.
Yeah.
You're talking about new fans. I mean, this.
But the education system is not. To be fair, the education system is not there to create new comic book fans.
It should be.
Bullshit!
I'm going to write. We should start a petition.
My tax money, goddammit.
That's right.
I mean, that said, I mean, yeah, there's pop culture and there's all that, but I don't know if the education system is the place to do that. I'd love to see comic books taught, but you can't teach anything. I mean, I was lucky in that I had a high school English teacher who was subversive as fuck, who introduced me to the Beats. My first experience with Ginsberg, with Ferlinghetti, with Kerouac, was through her. She handed me Grendel by John Gardner, which I have a copy of actually right here in front of me. This book was subversive as fuck in high school. Grendel, you know Grendel?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's the story of Beowulf, written from the
Beast,
perspective of the monster. And it's hardcore. I mean, and because she gave me this stuff to read, and it was in a world literature or an advanced literature class that I was taking, and I don't know, they must not have been paying attention to the curriculum, or she wasn't following it, or I don't know what, but we got some really good stuff there. But most of these kids, they get the sanitized Hamlet, they get, they're teaching Charlotte's Web at a high school level, which is ridiculous. Because that's a kid's book.
Now this brings me full circle.
I didn't know that, really?
This brings me full circle to the point I was trying to make so poorly before, is that what heroes are iconic and what they personify is that they were means to tell these great tales to kids in a way where they weren't wrapped in these books. I mean, I'm going to ask you this,
Do you think that's true? Do you think that
that was the original intent?
The original intent was to tell these stories? Because I don't know that I buy that.
I'll tell you.
I think that's at least what it. I can make the argument that that's what it became.
Yes, I can tell you that, and that was the major vehicle, or it became the major vehicle for that. That's why I always say, kids knew when I was a kid, we knew how to stop, drop in, roll.
Yeah, roll. Yeah.
You know, and take a bite out of crime, and you know, and that was what from McGruff.
Yes.
And you know what? You know that now you know, and no.
I feel like that came after our childhood, McGruff. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, it affected some
It's
of that.
close.
You know, Batman was like, you know, he was anti-guns, and superheroes never killed, and you know, the good crime never pays, the good guys always win.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff was you know, brought to you from comics. You know, and that's why they tackled those things like drugs, like alcohol.
Although that was like supposed to be.
But I don't know that was the intention of the writers.
I think. Well, definitely.
If you
with the case of
about
drugs,
it, I think it's a strong case of.
I mean, if you look at the Gardner Fox era, the 40s DC books, they were basically telling serial stories.
Yeah.
In comic form, right? I mean, so
yeah,
I don't know that
radio serial.
they tended to be
serials,
revenge fantasies and, you know, and some of the horror stuff. But
Exactly.
I don't know that there was a whole lot of like trying to. I think they were trying to sell books,
Yes, they were.
and I think that was their primary. Let's write what sells.
And but when it changed is with the inception of the superhero, the icon.
Well, I think
And the icon equation is this: is that you're basically trying to create you're trying to brand a virtue.
I don't want to whitewash what the comic industry was in its early days.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that Schuster and Siegel were trying to create an iconic character, and in fact, I think they were fairly shocked
They were.
when Superman actually did well.
Yeah, they were.
Batman, the early Batman, was like a gun-toting psychopath. More people get killed in like the first 10 issues of Batman. I mean,
he even kills a guy who actually wasn't totally guilty of what he was
he's just a guy
doing.
that he like pushes into a vat of acid.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's this one guy who, like, when he would go to sleep, he would wake up and, I guess, in sleepwalking kind of mode, kill people, and Batman killed him.
Well, you know,
and did kind of
and the people who were
suggest,
trying,
like, he was kind of a little guilty about that.
the people that were trying to, in that era, the people that were trying to tap into icons were like, well, we need a Superman character. But Superman wasn't created to be an icon, really. I mean, he was kind of influenced by the Nietzsche
the Nietzsche concept. Yeah.
concept, but
explain that to me, because I'm not.
Nietzsche.
I know Nietzsche, but
Well,
I guess I didn't know he was inspired by it.
I think a little bit, but even
I thought he was supposed to be like the Messiah and a Christ-like character.
could-
And that
Or probably
these-
more Moses, right?
And the two guys that created Jerry
Schuster and Siegel.
Yeah.
they being Jewish were trying to create a Messiah-like character.
You know, I don't know enough about the origins as far as what they were doing,
Yeah.
and I would want to go research that,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
something that we could probably
Yeah,
talk about in the
yeah,
next podcast.
yeah.
But you know what we were talking about, actually during the break, we were talking about the evolution of Wolverine, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of at play here. You
It
know,
is.
what started as just a means for revenge fantasy and fun and serials, I think became, you know, iconic. You know, those iconics were naturally built.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I think
you're
the
talking about
level
an
of
era
importance-
where, and it's so different from now, as far as because very little is being written towards kids right now, to some degree. Like in movies and television, everything is pretty much written towards the 17 to 22-year-old demographic. Nothing is being written to small children. And comics were, generally speaking, written for like that 8 to 10-year-old in the 40s.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the writers had higher aspirations, but I mean, from what I've read, most of those guys were just like.
I know definitely William Marston had higher aspirations. He actually came to DC about Wonder Woman, which was his hopes. He was
Right,
hoping,
but she was kind of bondage
Not
queen
really. No,
thing
I
going
don't,
on
I
in the
don't
40s.
particularly like the way that's kind of. I think that wasn't the main goal.
I understand it wasn't the main
and
goal.
now people seem to talk about that like
But,
that was all what
look,
it was about. And
I've got the first issue of
I know
the essay right
you can pull that shit out right now. It doesn't matter. I fucking know the truth.
All-Star Comics #3.
Yeah.
And
Pull
she's
it out.
like the fucking secretary. She's not even on the cover.
Yeah. Oh, that's. Oh, let me see this. This is All Star. This is not what I'm. Yeah. Did he write this?
No.
Well, then that's not what I'm talking about.
But this is where the character
Yeah.
gets exposure.
Well, this is what. Well, I'm talking about what Marston was trying to do when he came to DC. Not what was going on in this book.
Like when I say these characters are embodying a certain virtue, I think that's when they're at their best. And then the kids latched on. I guess when back in I don't know, Superman started getting hot.
You know
and
what?
that stuff.
I think this is a great topic, and I think I think we should go do a little bit of research, and we should do like a panel discussion or something like that, where we talk about the 1940s origin of these characters and what people are trying to do. I'd like to actually have a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'd like to be on more solid ground as far as research before I actually did that. But we should do a panel discussion on the next issue.
Actually,
on the
next episode.
To-
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Instead of loosey goosey.
I think that's awesome. If I were just to quickly wrap up what I would say on it to modernize it, when the character has embodied their virtue the best, it's when they work the best. And I would just say the Avengers, they have it down awesome. They have it right now. They have it exactly perfect. Captain America was to be the fighting American spirit, and so what he is now, how they tout the Avengers lineup is exactly by what they personify: the soldier, the knight, Iron Man, right? The god, Thor, right? The monster, Hulk, and these personas is what they embody, and when you can distill it down to that simple thing, they become an icon. Captain America is this soldier.
Yeah.
Iron Man is the knight, and so on and so forth. And that's why they work so well.
And also to the extent of specifically Captain America. I mean, you can also not just simply the soldier, but in a way he represents America.
And he represents America, yeah.
And you can. And what's interesting about that is,
what is the icon representing?
What does America mean? What?
Yeah.
Like Millar was doing that with Ultimates. Like Millar, I thought did the flip side of America. Like, we know the standard of America where it's the level that we all try to achieve. The best.
He talks
and try
about
to be
that
inspiring.
actually. It was
and
fairly
in Ultimates, I always took that as sort of maybe the uglier side of America,
Yes.
where.
Well, he talks about being a Scottishman and about how viewing America through overseas, from the lens of being overseas, and
that's
about
why
how disconcerting it was to see us have like an economic crash and people living poor, and because as a person overseas who wasn't an American, America was always this place that you go to get rich.
Yeah.
That it's the shining, it's a shining city on the hill.
Yeah.
And to see America kind of contract from that was really alarming to him. And that's one of the things he talks about. One of the things that actually motivated him to write Jupiter's Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just reading an interview with him about it. I go back and forth on him as far as whether or not. Like sometimes I'm like, it's too far. He's taking the piss out of it. But
What I think really works is that once you realize once you can say what a character represents, then the fact that he represents it means he is an icon. Just like on your computer, you have a folder, and that represents your documents.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you say, okay, he represents America, now you understand the icon. Mm-hmm. Now you can play with it. Okay, this is America in its perfect light. What's the underbelly of America? And this is where all the storylines derive from, are derivative of, because you're basically understanding the icon to exactly what he is. That's why I was asking you, what is Will? What is this? What is this? And I was asking, what is Red Knight? What is this?
Yeah.
What are they? the icons of. And once you're able to do that with a character, you really have something that's iconic, and that will last because people get it right off the bat. They see the folder, they know, oh, documents.
Well, that's the thing I always really did enjoy about superheroes is that they work on that symbolic level.
Yes.
Yes. And in the case of Captain America, what we were just talking about, what greatness America represents and what can be scary about America can be represented and filtered through either Captain America himself or one of his stories.
Yes. Which movie is sort of tackling the dirty side of America.
Yeah, and the Ultimate's really good.
And you can also link this to characters that I think that don't work. Is that you can't find the icon for them? What do they represent?
Yeah.
See,
like
you and I are diametrically opposed on this.
I feel like I'm in the middle of you guys. I really do.
Every time you say this, I have to hold my eyes in my head so I can roll out of my skull.
Think of a sucky character. Let's think of a sucky character.
I don't think there's no such thing as a sucky character. There's a
no.
shitty writer.
Okay, exactly.
I can take any. I could take motherfucking Brother Voodoo and make him kick ass on a page.
Okay, exactly. Exactly. Because they have not found what he represents.
There's no represent. There's stories. This is you and I are completely
okay.
and utterly and I love Vince's work, but I can't write like that.
All right, let's move from here. Where we are.
No, we can discuss this.
I think this is great. This is great.
Conflict
because it's like
we have respect for each other. I have respect for Vince. I like his work.
I think if you have and I agree with you, it's crappy writers, and I think they haven't. I think they haven't tapped in or figured out what that character represents.
I don't know the character necessarily. Sometimes your mother is just your mother in the dream, and it's not significant of anything else. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. I think it's just about character, not. Yeah, you can do symbolism, but so many. I see this in people's poetry all the time. I read a lot of poetry. People bring it to me because that's my profession, or has been for a number of years. And I see people trying to write theme. Theme will come of its own. Symbolism will come of its own. Trust that shit. But tell an interesting story. Daredevil. Again and again and again, Daredevil fails as a character. Never really hits the sales that
I was about to bring him up.
That they want to. And is Daredevil a particularly iconic-looking character? Meh. I mean, he's got basically...
I would qualify that as a pretty iconic look.
Which one?
He
the
is
yellow
iconic.
and the black?
The red one.
The
red one.
I mean, come on.
I'll tell you why. I was going to bring up Daredevil. I was going to bring him up. Because at this moment in time, no one has said what he represents. But yet, I can tell you what the
He's
Punisher...
the man without fear.
I can tell you what the Punisher represents.
Daredevil's always been the man without fear. That's always been his tagline.
That...
He's also they haven't. Marvel has been slowly and steadily positioning him to be the hero that all the other heroes admire, and that he is fearless. Like they'll be out there fighting. And there was a panel. I don't know. There's a couple pages from something, and I forget what it was in, but it comes to mind where it's a bunch of people talking about Daredevil, and they're like, we were out there fighting Galactus, and I was like, what the fuck is Daredevil doing here? What's he gonna do? But people are like, fuck it, he's Daredevil, he might have a good idea.
Well, see, that's what it would be. If he's gonna be iconic, he should represent.
The thing that's an interesting
fearlessness.
It's so easy to go. I'm sorry, Justin.
That's okay. I'll just fucking sit here. That's fine.
Yeah, Justin, you're out of this here.
Sit back down, asshole.
Fucking thing.
Justin has left the building.
Yeah, but see, I think you tapped into it. If you're going to write something about Daredevil, it should be all about fearlessness.
It's so
let him walk across a busy highway and all the cars screech, and he turns around to the person that's walking with him and says, "Aren't you coming?" Fearless. If he's the icon of that, the whole story comes from the fact that he represents fearlessness.
But they get so heavy-handed.
That's what these guys are.
You got to be in front of a mic.
Yeah, well.
That's what heroes are.
It didn't fucking help her.
They are heavy-handed.
shut up.
Heroes are heavy-handed icons. When I say, oh, the soldier is Captain America, the knight is Iron Man, the monster is the Hulk, and what you should be able to say something like that for Daredevil, you should say fearlessness.
See,
And once you're able to say that, you can write dramatic, ultimate stories.
See, here's the thing. I always enjoy these conversations between you guys because I actually do feel like I'm kind of somewhat wedged a little bit in the middle of these philosophies.
These are philosophies.
Yeah, and I do understand. I believe in about what it is about superheroes that is symbolic and that really grabs people. And you can actually do chart the ones that are more successful versus the ones that aren't as successful. Like G.W. Bridge. Like who the fuck is that guy?
G.W. Bridge he was a director. He was a
Anyway,
he was like a top level SHIELD agent.
Yeah, and what does his costume look like? What is the
the
typical
SHIELD
G.W.
uniform.
Bridge? Yeah, but not really. He would usually have
Blue with the gray belt
no,
and the yellow boots.
not really.
I'm not going to look it up.
It isn't really worth it. But anyway,
But G.W. Bridge never had a book.
I know, but he's not a character that jumped out. I mean,
Daredevil wasn't
here's
a character that dropped out.
I'm trying to fuck.
What?
I'm just trying to get to my fucking point.
Get to your point.
I can't get to it if I keep getting interrupted. Now I've kind of just basically lost what I was going to say.
Basically say he didn't have an iconic
There are
look.
characters. But I do agree, and I don't know. Maybe what makes successful characters are essentially what you're both talking about, because they have tried characters that are symbolic. They have tried to start with theme first and fail. I've seen that happen too. What really grabs people is the character. What keeps them going is the character and their story. And like Daredevil, I find Daredevil to be actually. It's interesting that he came up in this conversation because, in the icon equation, how does Daredevil fit? I mean, he has a beautiful, iconic look.
He does.
It's the simple red with the horns. Yeah, you can talk about a couple of his other costumes he wore for 2 minutes, but it's the red costume.
Well, no, because his original costume was yellow and black
Yeah,
for a
he wore
very
that for,
long
like,
time.
3 issues.
His original costume?
The yellow one? Come on, he wore
The
that
yellow
for,
and red costume.
The
You're
yellow
talking
and
about
black.
his father's costume?
No, the yellow and black.
Oh,
that
the
he
yellow and black. Yeah.
debuted in and
He
drew
wore
out
that-
most of the 60s.
No. For I think 5-6 issues or something like that.
Continue.
Okay. Less than 10 issues. His main look has been the red costume, which I think is a beautiful, iconic looking costume.
Yep,
and you
iconic.
see that, you know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as what he represents, you can say it is about fearlessness. But there is just so much that's been in play, maybe partly because of the Miller years, is we have this deeply religious man dressed up as a devil, and he is a lawyer, and at the same time he's fighting crime, beating the shit out of people, doing very unlawyer-like things. So I sometimes I have trouble placing what would be his easy go-to iconic themes.
But see, I think you tapped right into it. That they tried to play up on the devil aspect and make him a representative of that.
Yeah.
But it really should be fearlessness.
Yeah, and I think that was the original goal.
Okay, you're right. The red costume appeared in Daredevil 7. It was designed by Wally Wood.
That is right.
You need to contribute to the money jar.
Fuck your money, Daredevil.
I know what I'm talking about, man.
This is the real Manos. You better back off.
I know.
I actually think that the yellow and black was a better costume.
Really?
Yeah.
He should pick up the iconic
Oh,
quiz.
wow. I think yeah, well, anyway. But
None of these characters were written to be icons. Though.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. But they do become icons.
I mean, I think what Vince is saying is that. See, but this is the chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
You know,
yes.
Vince is basically saying we have studied these characters, and this is how you make a successful character. But what I'm saying is none of these characters are written to be iconic.
Yeah.
And that may be true. I'm not going to argue there, but I'm saying the ones that that have become representative of something seem to be more successful, and they have become iconic through that, through the fact that they represent something, and that you can distill it down to a simple phrase, and that distillation is, or that withering down into a simple thing makes it into an icon. When you look at your desktop, you know exactly what's on your desktop because they've withered down the whole concept of all your work into a folder, or the globe as the internet.
Yeah.
And so because that's become very iconic. It's powerful. Icons are powerful because you don't have to read. You don't have to sit for 10 minutes and pick up the book.
Yeah.
You can just walk by it and know what that's about. And once that's powerful, people will know what the book is about before they even get in their hand.
It's just the thing is, I tend to think that that symbolism does stand for who that character is or what they represent. Like, let's take this out of the superhero discussion, like the American flag.
Yeah.
And they thankfully don't have this debate anymore. Thankfully, it's over now. I hope so. But the flag burning thing throughout the 80s and 90s, which didn't seem to die, which over and over again, people were trying to let's be fair, our conservative friends to the right, trying to ban it, write constitutions, forgetting, because it's an insult to those who died for that flag, for the freedom that whoever would, burn or protest it. Forgetting the fact that what they were fighting for was freedom.
It was freedom, yes.
Therefore, burning the flag is a part of that freedom. So that's the actual flag is an idea and a symbol, much more powerful than the actual physical flags that you could buy it for $2 at any Walgreens or something like that. That's what does that symbol mean? And that's the actual. They have to go in hand because the symbol wouldn't. The symbol is without any kind of meaning is a smiley face.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you can't grab you can't have generations grab onto a concept, a story, a character without that symbolism.
Without the symbolism.
I mean,
Just check that.
Oh, you're fine. I'm listening.
But
I really do think they go hand in hand.
Let me tell you about Spider-Man. When I think Spider-Man's at his best is when, you really play up on the idea that he's a spider and that he's little and powerful. That's the icon that he represents, right?
Yeah.
And so everything, and he's looking at the world as a little but powerful spider.
He's an average man.
And he's the average man. And everything is bigger and larger than he is, right? So look at all his villains, right?
Yeah.
The rhinoceros.
Yeah.
The lizard. All of our lizards and all the animals.
Animal-based, but larger predators.
And he has to somehow beat them, outwit them, and survive. And this is the story of the average man.
Also, with the average man, I've thought about this too. I don't know if this was this might have been an accident, but his whole body is covered in that costume. There's no jaw or eyes or skin covering.
Yeah.
So therefore, once he puts all that on, he could be anybody. He could be Peter Parker. He could be Miles Morales.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah. I don't know. That's one of those things. See, but that's one of those things. Like, was that planned by Leah Ditko or Kirby, or did that kind of just
what
had something bring to it?
It's what Jeff is saying is that you have the chicken and the egg, but it takes the writer to understand what the character already has and play its strengths to its icon. Oh, he's covered from head to toe.
Yeah.
Oh, he can be anyone. You see what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah.
You just take what you have and you play it towards its iconic strengths. That's what I believe.
Now, a moment from the other side.
Forget icons.
Spider-Man was not successful because of anything having to do with how he was iconic. He was entirely successful because Steve Ditko tapped into the angst of the modern or at the time, the modern teenage male. Most of the Marvel books were successful because they tapped into the underlying angst of society having to do with the atomic bomb. All of Stan Lee's creations are an answer to the threat of radiation.
You're saying they're icons of the nuclear time?
No, they're not icons. They're not icons. Most of them are not iconic.
Well, not maybe so much iconic.
Every
but
one of those
symbolic
characters. The
that
Hulk.
era.
Yeah.
The Hulk. Gamma Bomb.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four. Cosmic Radiation.
Cosmic radiation.
Spider-Man. Radioactive Spider.
Yeah.
Fucking Daredevil.
Yeah,
Radioactive goo.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's actually a lot of people forget that part.
And those books were successful not because they were particularly iconic characters, but because all of them were tapping into the underlying fear the society was dealing with, that these kids were exposed to when they had to, like, jump under their desk in the middle of for a bomb drill.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where it all comes
Yeah.
from. And today's comics are a little different because they're written, Moore talks a little bit about how the writers after the first generation of writers were fanboys who were happy just to be able to do something in this art form that they liked. But the people that were actually originally creating this stuff, when you go back into the 30s and 40s, it's about fear of the other.
Yes. Boy, do I know that.
Yes. So,
but I don't think you're too far off from what we're saying, and I think we're coming at it from opposite directions, but we're meeting in the same place. I think we're meeting in the same place. Is that these characters are indicative or somehow representative? These are all different ways of saying someone is a placeholder thereof or an icon. So, and I think that's what really makes these books powerful. And when they lack it, when you don't know what.
But then you have a book like Sex Criminals.
Yes. Did you have a book like Sex Criminals?
Which is not iconic.
Yeah.
And the thing that I react to is that...
Although, to be fair, it's not a superhero book.
Sure it is. They have superpowers.
Yeah, but it's not... Well, we'll see.
What do you mean it's not a superhero book? They have powers.
Yeah. Well, they're committing fucking robberies.
Well,
That's
so
not
did Hawkeye.
superhero-ish.
Hawkeye just robbed somebody like 4 or 5 issues ago.
I think it has the potential if they want to make it iconic. I don't know what sets the bar now, but for me, if Sex Pistols is so awesome,
Sex Criminals.
Sex Pistols.
Sex Pistols was a band.
And yeah, that's right, Sex Criminals. And my grandmother looks up from cooking her stew and says, "Boy, you better stop watching those videos. You're not sex criminals." And she starts using it as a part of her American lexicon. Then I know Sex Criminals is the ultimate.
Not likely going
book.
to happen.
And that it has tapped into that vein and become a part of Americana, and the whole.
I'm just saying. I mean, for the longest time, that's what you had was people trying to write icons, trying to write iconic characters because some characters have become iconic and they were successful and they wanted to have successful characters too. Mm-hmm. And you get this glut. The Captain Marvel and the Marvel family was entirely a ripoff of Superman. Everybody knows it. Everybody knew it. Miracle Man was then an answer to the fact that they no longer had the rights to Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Just book after book after book. I mean, and I get what you're saying, and I see why it works, but it also, to me, leads to a glut of just absolutely forgettable, because nobody's thinking about the stories, and everybody's just thinking about the icon.
I don't
This is awesome. I love it. We invite you to write us at Primal
Yeah,
Paper
if you
Comics.
have a comment about this, leave a comment on it.
people are probably listening to this.
We just completely forgot that we're doing a podcast and got into a fight.
If you have any opinions on this, please feel free. Leave them in the comments section. Let's talk about it. Or hell, if you even want to do a video response to this, go ahead.
Go to our
nuts.
Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Primal Paper Comics, I think.
Yeah, pretty
if
much.
it's not, do a search for Primal Paper Comics or go to the website,
Yeah.
and you'll see a link to the Facebook page.
It's not that hard to find us.
PrimalPaperComics.com.
And I'm actually working on a book. I'm finishing it now. It's called The Icon Equation. Vince White, The Icon Equation.
With a forward from Jeff Hewitt.
Yes, yes.
No, I'm just going to write a second book that's like Vince White can suck an egg.
And that is the beauty of Primal Paper Comics, is that, we are distinctly different individuals creating comics the way we see fit, and no one can tell us anything different, and we're united, and we're raw, we're as primal as you can get, and we're putting it on paper, and we're primal paper.
All right, we're going to wrap this up, and we will be back in the same bat channel at the same bat time, whenever that is. So come see us at Tidewater Comic Con. We're all going to be there. I think Forrester might be there. Bob won't be there because we can't afford to fly him in from Cleveland because we're indie comic guys, and you guys don't buy enough of our books. But Forrester will probably be there. Vince will be there. I will be there. Justin will be there.
Yes.
And we all love each other. Don't think that because we got into a fight about this, or Justin got mad because I talked over him.
We do this all the time.
Yeah.
This is how we are.
This is how we roll here.
Last words from Vince.
Check out Godcell, something I just put together, coming out soon through Advent, actually. It's supposed to be under Powerverse, but something happened. Check that out, and check out the Icon Equation, and thanks, and be powerful.
Okay. Justin?
Yes, the Red Knight trade paperback, the first volume, A Knight Without a Sword, should be out at the end of March or at the beginning of April, and look for it. It's going to be beautiful.
And I'm Jeff Hewitt, and most people don't like me. Till next time, make yours Primal Paper Comics. Thank you for joining us for yet another exciting episode of the Primal Paper Comics podcast. Brought to you by Primal Paper Comics, available in fine retail establishments throughout the 757 and 804 area codes, or by direct order at www.primalpapercomics.com.